Hey Crossroads kids, welcome back this week. This week we are going to learn about breaking the pattern of sin. And so we want to do a little bit of a demonstration for you. But before we do that, do we have any announcements for this week?
No, I don't believe we do.
Okay. So just keep checking back at our YouTube channel, CrossRoads YouthWorks, and look for videos. We have also been trying to continue posting the continuation of the story time that I started a few weeks ago. The internet has been a little bit slow, so it's been a little bit hard to get them all uploaded. So just keep checking back for each chapter. We have them recorded, just getting them to YouTube has been a little bit of a challenge. So just keep checking back. And we will go ahead and continue doing these videos at least for a couple more weeks.
Yep.
And then we're going to make some decisions about what to do after that. So let's go ahead and get started for today. Bryce, I'm going to give you this piece of paper.
Okay.
I can participate too, I guess. Do you think you can rip that paper with your bare hands?
I think so.
Think so?
Yep.
Let's see who can do it the quickest. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go! I think we probably tied.
Yep.
Alright, now I'm going to make it a little bit more challenging, okay?
Okay.
I'm giving you a stack of papers. And see if you can rip all of these together with your bare hands.
Alright. So just like this?
Yeah, just like you did with the other.
Yep.
Alright.
Bring it on.
Let's do a little bit bigger stack. Hold on.
Here, you know what? I can just double this.
Okay. That
Try
works
it this
too.
way.
Yeah, try it that way.
Okay. So now
Ready?
we're double.
So now we're double stacked.
Alright. Oh, that's harder.
Oh,
okay.
You got
I
it.
got that though.
He's strong.
Alright. Here we go. More?
Yeah, keep going.
I don't know about this one. I just got way harder.
Yeah, it did. I don't think he's going to get this one.
I don't think I'm going to get this one either.
Alright, well let's set it off to the side for a little bit while we talk about a few things, okay? So imagine that each of these sheets of paper that we were trying to rip apart is a little sin. So when we have little sin in our lives, just like this single one, you know, maybe you are disobedient to your parents. Maybe they ask you to do the dishes and you say, I'm going to get to it later, and then you never do it. So that might be a little sin that happened that day. And then maybe the next day you go, oh yeah, I should have obeyed mom and dad. So this time when they ask me to do something, I'm going to do it right away. So you've broken that pattern of sin, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've broken that sin struggle, and just like this one single piece of paper, it's pretty easy to tear apart, right? So
yep.
when we correct it pretty quickly, we can kind of get back on track with the Lord a little bit better. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. But as we stacked up pieces of paper, it got harder to break it. So even when it was a stack like this and you broke it apart, it took a little bit more effort, didn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely got harder each time.
Okay. On their own, each sin doesn't seem too difficult to handle, but when they start stacking up, it gets more and more difficult. So when we continue in a pattern of sin, it's a lot harder to break away. So James chapter 1, verses 12 through 15 says, Blessed is a man who perseveres under trial, for once he has been approved, he will receive the crown of life which the Lord has promised to those who love him. Let no one say when he is being tempted, I am being tempted by God. For God cannot be tempted by evil, and he himself does not tempt anyone. But each one is tempted when he is carried away and enticed by his own lusts. Then when lust is conceived, it gives birth to sin, and when sin is accomplished, it brings forth death. So the Bible tells us that we all sin, but that pattern of sin can cause a lot of problems. All sin causes problems because it separates us from God. But as we continue in that it just continues to grow and build.
Becomes habit.
Yes, it does become habit, and it's a lot harder to break. So I'm going to have you grab that stack of papers that you couldn't break before, and let's see if you can break them now. So we have soaked them.
It's still hard. They're slick now. Oh man, I'm starting.
There we go.
Watch out, I won't
Yeah.
hit you.
There we go.
There we go.
Had to get a start on it. So, now that stack that he was unable to break before it was wet, when we got it a little bit wet, it made it easier to tear. So, on our own, it's not easy to break a pattern of sin. But when we're soaked in the power of the Holy Spirit and bathed in the love and support of our family and friends, then we can break through any sin barrier that comes before us, because God has promised to be faithful and to help us break that pattern of sin.
Yeah.
All right, so we have been learning about our sin struggles and how it's better when we can deal with the sin right away than letting that sin stack up. There's a verse that I want to read to you, which is also going to be your memory verse for this week. It comes from 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13. And I'm going to read it from my Bible on my phone. Mr. Bryce is looking it up in the Bible from CrossRoads. It says, "No temptation has overtaken you except what is common to mankind. And God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, He will also provide a way out so that you can endure it." So, what is a temptation, Bryce?
Well, a temptation is not doing something, it's the thought about doing it. So, for example, parents say, take out the trash. You have that moment of thought, am I going to do it? Or am I going to keep watching my TV show? That's the temptation, is the thought about continuing to watch your show instead of obeying immediately. So, just having that thought, you have a decision to make. That's the temptation.
Okay. So, is the temptation sin?
No.
What's the difference?
Well, the temptation is saying, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do, this is kind of what maybe I want to do. Well, the sin enters in when you say, I'm going to do what I want to do instead of what I should do. So in the case of taking out the trash, I watch my show and don't obey my parents. In the case of a test at school, you may be tempted. You see, you know what, there's answers on the page next to me. My classmate already got it done. The temptation is, I could look and get their answers. But if you say, no, I need to do this on my own, you haven't sinned because you didn't look. The sin is when you go, yeah, I'm going to do that, and I look.
Very good. So this verse here is telling us that there is no temptation that you will have, or that I will have, or that any of us will have, that is not common to mankind. All of mankind deals with temptation. So maybe you are tempted to cheat, or maybe you're tempted to lie, or to disobey, or to steal, or to say mean things, or whatever it might be. All of us are tempted in different ways, but as human beings, all those temptations are common to us. So for me, it might not be tempting to cheat, but maybe it might be mean to, might be a temptation to say something mean about somebody. For Bryce, it might be something different, okay? So all of those temptations, God tells us in His Word that those are common to mankind, but He says God is faithful, and He won't let us be tempted beyond what we can handle. So no temptation is going to come at us that we can't say no to. We can always say no to temptation and not sin. And then what does He tell us there at the very end?
But when you are tempted, He will also provide a way out so that you can stand up under it, is how my translation says. So He's talking about, you know what, God doesn't leave you hanging. There's no time ever that He said, or that you can say, I had no choice. I had to do it. There's always a way out. God will always provide a way out from sin so that you don't have to.
Yes. So we would like to encourage you guys this week. Temptation is all around us, all the time. And even when we're not maybe gathering with as many people as we normally would, or sitting in a classroom, there's still going to be temptations. And we have to fight against those temptations. And we do that through God and His Word. So let the Holy Spirit work in your lives this week. And you might need some help from family and friends too to help you overcome those temptations so that you don't give in to them. But you take that way of escape that 1 Corinthians 10:13 talks about. So this week your verse comes from 1 Corinthians. It's chapter 10. Verse 13. So work on that this week and continue letting God work in your life. And we will see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye, guys.